Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tyler Lloyd, and in today's video I'm going to be exploring a question that I recently asked myself: should you be feeding birds in the summer? I've spent the past year making my yard more invitable to wildlife, particularly birds. So I was wondering, is it absolutely necessary to feed the birds in the summer? Is it doing good? Maybe is it doing bad? So that's what I'm going to be exploring in this video, as well as providing you some tips for how you can make your yard more welcoming to our feathered friends. Many people wonder if it's necessary to continue feeding birds in the summertime when natural food sources are very plentiful. Now, it makes sense in spring when birds are migrating, they're starting building their nests, have high energy demands, or in winter when there's maybe not a lot of options. But in summertime, like it is in Kentucky, it seems that there's a lot of food out there for them. So do you need to be feeding them, or even should you? I'm an ecologist, so I'm always thinking about how my actions are impacting the natural world around me. Is putting out bird feeders making birds somewhat dependent, changing their natural food habits and cycles in some sort of detrimental way? Well, it turns out no, not really in any appreciable amount, and it's actually very good for three different reasons. The first one is supplemental nutrition. While summertime does have a lot more options, maybe it's not enough, or they could use an extra boost of energy when they're rearing their young. Then you have the fact that adding certain food sources is going to add to the diversity. Maybe your yard doesn't have all the different foods that support the local wildlife in your area, so supplementing it can really help. And then there is the benefit of consistent observation. Feeding birds allows you to more easily see them as they come to those feeders, so you can observe them change over the seasons as their plumage changes, as the different birds that come to your feeders change over time, and maybe even engage in a little bit of citizen science, like the great backyard bird count that happens, I believe, most Februaries, and that I'm looking forward to participating in next year. Okay, now that we've established that it's okay to feed birds in the summer, I've got some tips for you to help you attract more birds to your backyard. The very first one is to provide a variety of food sources for the birds. See what birds you actually want to attract and provide that food for them. Kind of common sense. So I'm in Kentucky. This is a great book for me, Birds of Kentucky, and you can see all the different birds that you could be attracting to your feeders, see what they actually eat, and then you can provide that food. If there's a particular one, like for the American goldfinch, I know that right behind me, they happen to love these flowers. Haven't seen them at any of my feeders though. Point number two is, in addition to providing those different food sources, change up the type of feeder that you have and the location. Maybe don't just have one feeder, have a few different ones with different foods. Maybe one with just sunflower seeds. If you want to attract something like hummingbirds, you're going to need a hummingbird feeder. So see what you want to bring to your yard and have different feeders throughout to accommodate your guest. And then there is the strategic placement of your bird feeder. You want it to be in a place where there is a little bit of coverage. Right over here, I have a whole bunch of trees, so the birds can fly up into the tree, come down when they feel it's safe, and then fly back up if they see a hawk or me approaching and they're concerned. And then placement near a window is also important, or proximity to a window. Now, it might seem counterintuitive, but it is actually okay to have a bird feeder close to a window, within 3 feet of the window if you're worried about bird strikes, because they see the feeder, they land on it, and if they decide to fly towards the window, they're not going to pick up enough speed to hurt themselves. But if you're going to have it a little bit further away from your window, you actually need it more than 30 feet away from the window. There was a research study that looked at the mortality of birds striking windows, and they found that most of it happened within 5 to 10 meters, or roughly 15 to 30 feet. So have it more than 30 feet. And this is actually a very serious concern, because birds flying into windows is the second largest human cause of bird mortality. The first one being habitat destruction. And speaking of habitat destruction, how about you consider planting native plants in your yard for those birds? Now, I'm in Kentucky, so some good plants for me to plant are black-eyed Susans, like these that I'm sitting right next to, purple coneflowers, Virginia creeper, which produces a nice blueberry that birds love, and the best plant of all, an oak tree, which supports hundreds of different species of caterpillar, more than any other native tree, and should be a cornerstone of any yard looking to attract wildlife. Number 5 on my list of things to attract birds to your yard, provide some water. That could be a bird bath, a bubbler, any sort of water source. Just make sure that you keep it clean. That is tip number 7. Keep both your bird bath and also your bird feeders clean. You shouldn't get a giant bird feeder that you only have to fill up maybe once a month or more. Consider getting a smaller bird feeder or not putting a whole bunch of food in it. That way you can, once it's empty, you can take it down, give it a nice scrub with maybe just a little soapy water or with a bleach solution. I think it's good to do a bleach solution a few times during the season to make sure that you aren't harboring any pathogens. You've got a lot of different bird species coming to one localized area, and it's a perfect place for them to transmit diseases to one another. So make sure you keep it clean. And also just keep your yard clean and free of chemicals and other pathogens like pesticides. If you're worried about pests in your yard, particularly mosquitoes, I've got a video on how to naturally control mosquitoes that is environmentally sound, so you can check that video out. I'll link to it up above and down below. And then consider providing good nesting sites for birds. That can be a tree or a shrub, and because of that, don't do too much pruning in the spring. One, it's not the best time to prune anyway, but you don't want to disturb those birds when they're building their nest. Or put up some birdhouses. I plan to build a few birdhouses this winter, particularly for my garden, so I can attract some bluebirds to help with the insect population. But it's not absolutely necessary to have birdhouses to attract birds. The birds are going to move around your neighborhood and local area searching for food, so you don't have to have birdhouses, but it's something that I'm definitely going to be employing in my yard to attract more species. And there you have it. That is my list. I would say be patient. Once you start doing these things, it may take a little while for birds to recognize that your backyard is a suitable habitat for them, a place that they want to be. But I think that you will have some pretty good success if you start doing these things and making your backyard environment much more hospitable to birds. If you want more videos like this, be sure to subscribe so you get notified whenever I put them out. And if I mentioned anything that you want to know a little bit more about, maybe like native plants, be sure to leave a comment down below, because this is something that I'm really interested in and excited about as I've been transforming my yard, and I would love to make more videos and explore these topics further. So thank you very much. My name is Tyler Lloyd, and I wish you the very best. See ya.